is it that Oscar caliber movie? Drive-by movies, you're watching
fresh releases.
My name's Blaise.
And I am James.
And this week we're going to talk about the Oscar winner, Flow.
Flow takes place in a post-apocalyptic world devoid of humans, and a solitary dark gray cat survives a catastrophic flood by joining forces with other animals on a boat, embarking on a journey through submerged landscapes to find safety. So, this movie, wouldn't say maybe necessarily it was an upset, but I think a lot of people kind of had The Wild Robot as their favorite to win the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. Still haven't gotten around to seeing that movie. Inside Out 2 was another candidate, being the number 1 movie at the box office. But don't you just love it when like a sneaky, like indie foreign film like just kind of comes in and just like swept some off of the rug and just makes them fall over and be like, what happened here? Flow is that movie, a movie that's like, not going to be for everyone, but I find it very hard to dislike this movie. The lack of dialogue is definitely part of the reason why I can see some people having problems with it, but I absolutely loved it. What are your thoughts coming out of Flow?
Yeah, I have to say I was one of those people that thought Wild Robot would win. I absolutely loved that movie. That felt like a sleeper pick until Flow dropped. And then I did see the conversation kind of morph and Flow becoming that front runner. I did really enjoy this movie. It is, as you said, it's basically like a silent movie. There's no dialogue, and it kind of feels like before I'd only seen the poster and then a trailer, so it's kind of like mysterious in a way, because you're like, what's that movie about? It seems like it might be kind of take a dark turn and be like a sad movie, but it never really does that. And I felt like this movie was really entertaining. It has a fairly short runtime, and it always keeps you captivating with this kind of like, I wouldn't say it's like low budget, but you could tell that this was like almost like lovingly crafted because there was such a small team involved.
Yeah, the animation, isn't going to be the most highly detailed, like compared to, things like the Across the Spider-Verse. But, this animation does have its like one of a kind kind of feel to it. And it feels very intentional. It just works for the story that's trying to tell. It has very vibrant colors. And so, if you're going to watch this, whether it's in theaters or your big 4K TV, like the colors are going to look super awesome watching it, and you're just going to get lost. And I'm just so surprised, though, like how a movie like this works out without any dialogue, without any human characters. Like, I always knew it could work, but just no studio ever wants to do that. So you always have to go to the indie level to kind of make these passion projects like that kind of happen. We talked about it last year, kind of a weird example, but Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, how we're just like, honestly, the best scene in that movie was like the 20-minute human sequence where it's just Kong fighting with a bunch of apes and stuff. Just goes to show a movie like that could work without it, when a movie like this just works just fine. This movie is geared towards like kids possibly, but is still very enjoyable by kids and adults alike though.
Yeah, I'd be interested actually if this, I know it is like kids can obviously watch this and stuff, but if like kids would be bored, because I remember I went with my buddy and his son to go see the Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim. That movie is absolutely horrible, but even he was falling asleep like 30 minutes in because he was just bored out of his mind. Like nothing happens in that movie to keep young ones entertained. This, I feel like there probably is enough. But something that this movie's actually been keeping entertained is people's cats and dogs and their pets, because I've seen so many videos online of people's pets watching this movie. And I even had this on and my cat was like walking inside and started like looking at the TV. I was like trying to show it to her mainly just because I saw all those videos. I'm like, look, it's you. Like, but yeah, I just feel like pets kind of like lock into something, especially if there's no dialogue, because I feel like they just kind of get turned off anytime there's dialogue. But if they see animals interacting with other animals, like it's kind of like that cat TV like channel or something like that.
Yeah, for my dog, I usually leave shark documentaries or shark movies on for her. Just any kind of animal nature show that's on Pluto TV. So that way it just keeps continuously playing. And my TV doesn't turn off while I'm out at work or something. But I try to get my dog into this movie too. And she did look at it a couple of times when the dogs are barking in the intro sequence. Watch it in the morning, but my dog was too tired to stay awake for the whole movie. And she's not that interested in TV also, but it was just nice to watch and nice to try to entertain. And now I'm going to go through a crazy rabbit hole on TikTok of animals watching Flow, because that's something I definitely look forward to.
Yeah, I have to say that this movie, it felt like that sleeper pick for the awards. I will still say I enjoyed Wild Robot much more than this movie. I felt like I enjoyed this movie, was very entertained, but I do feel like it still felt like it was kind of like missing something in a way. I just feel like we were kind of on this journey. I like the message of like, we're all in this boat together. But I do feel like some of the broad strokes were a little too much, where it's like, is it related to like global warming? Is there some type of like what's going on where this flood kind of interacts? Where I feel like I enjoyed the message more in Wild Robot, where I felt like this was a little bit more open-ended. Maybe that allows a lot of different people to kind of enter it more easily than feel like they might be being preached to, essentially. But yeah, like I do love the message in this movie. Is it that Oscar caliber movie? I feel like you guys should drop in the comments and let us know what you kind of thought about that.
Yeah, because I still haven't seen The Wild Robot, so I can't comment on that. But I know it's on my list, and I really do want to watch it. But I know that movie meant a lot to a lot of people from the reviews that I watched on YouTube and everything. Versus Flow, I appreciate a movie like this, though, sweeping it under the rug for the most part. But yeah, like I'm still glad I watched this movie, though, just because, it makes room for new animators, like whether or not they get picked up by a bigger studio or just go on to make their own studio and make more movies along the lines of this with, maybe more narrative focused stories through animation. But, I just love giving those guys extra, and maybe not the extra help, but just like the extra viewership, I guess, by getting a movie like this known by winning the Oscar. Because, I probably would have let it like kind of go under my radar if it didn't win the Oscar for the most part, and if we didn't have this show, which is a bummer because this movie should be seen and should be played on TVs while you leave your pets home alone.
How did you like the animation? Because I felt like it was like low frame rate almost, and at first it did feel like a little janky. Like maybe the first couple minutes you're like, oh, but there was like those scenes where it was like very fast paced, so the cat running and those dogs in the beginning, where it kind of gets you into that style of animation where it almost feels like it's like 15 frames per second or something, where it is like this low frame rate. And like maybe that might feel a little janky if you haven't seen other stuff like that, or you come from seeing something like Wild Robot or one of the other Oscar nominees, and then you watch this where it feels like there's less frames, but it almost gives it its own vibe. Like it's almost like hypnotic in a way, like how originally when they chose to make movies 24 frames per second over something higher, it was because the 24 frames were like hypnotic. This at 15 and the animation being like pretty HD, it just feels like almost like more hypnotic in a way, and really like kind of sucks you in.
Yeah, what it reminded me of kind of was like a Xbox 360 style like cutscenes for the most part, where, like Xbox 360, granted that's like 2 systems ago, but a lot of the graphics from those games like looked amazing towards the end of its lifespan. I remember Halo 4 was like one of the last games I got on Xbox 360, and the graphics on that were phenomenal and probably still hold up pretty decently compared to, the PS5 and Xbox One X or whatever it's called, or Series X. But this movie, like, kind of, I don't think it was going for that. Like, they probably did the best what they could with what they could afford and with the time that they had for this movie. But it just reminded me of some of the better cutscenes from games of that period, though, where you were just like, oh, wow, I don't want to use like Shadow of Colossus as an example, because that game's very immersive of just like making you feel like, oh yeah, let me just enjoy this nature aspect, or Red Dead Redemption. This movie captures that element, I guess, even though the graphics aren't necessarily similar. I guess I'd say the animation kind of reminded me of I'm probably the worst person to ask about Japanese anime in general, but like when you're bringing up how sometimes it feels like fast rated, like whenever they're running, but then it just all of a sudden like comes to like a weird, like shocking, jarring freeze frame, almost like kind of remind me of like a Japanese anime at times. And so like just made things like just feel kind of like immersive in those sequences.
I would say if this is on your radar at all, definitely check it out. I think it's worth the watch because it's on the shorter end. It does feel very fresh because it's that kind of, doesn't have any dialogue. Really, you're in these characters' story, and it is very wholesome. Like, I think that was one of the things is like, at first I wasn't sure if I want to watch this because I thought it was going to be like one of those movies where the cat is just put through like traumatic event after traumatic event, and that has happened kind of at times, but it always feels like it's there uplifting, and the mood is very like positive, and it has a wholesome vibe and message, where it's not like Milo and Otis or something like that.
Yeah, the first 10 minutes, like I thought, like, oh no, all these dogs are chasing the cat. And, I'm a dog lover, but I love cats also. I don't want to see the cat get tormented by dogs. And then, all of a sudden, all the dogs are like drowning in this flood. I'm like, what movie am I going to watch? This is only the first 10 minutes. But then, of course, like the movie actually doesn't go darker than those like first 10 minutes. There's of course some weird like dream sequences within the movie, and some still some intense sequences, but for the most part it's very wholesome and very delectable too. Let us know in the comments below what you think about the movie. Was it just like a little too thin for your taste, or do you think it was worthy of the best picture for animation? Let us know in the comments below, because that's a great way to help support the show, as well as renting it through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
Oh yeah, and speaking of updates, catch all our social media links down below. We got Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, also our own personal letterbox accounts. That's it for this week. Tune in next week for some new videos.